going on? So is the volume good? Sweaty blue balls, who are you in the Discord? I need to put a YouTube tag to a person tag. Okay, resolution is good too. Everyone can see it's not wonky like last time. What's up, young poppy? So audio is good. Everyone's confirming audio is 100% good. Okay, cool. What up, Sneaks? All right, guys. So what's going on? Been a couple of days. I had a nice weekend up home. Fucking chilling. Had a big old birthday party and stuff. You will not believe it, but I somehow managed to fuck up my other foot. Was playing spike ball on the beach. Don't know if you guys played spike ball before. Super fun. And yeah, I don't know. I guess someone had left like a jagged piece of glass or something broke on the beach the night before, and I fucking stepped right on it and I punctured my other fucking foot. So it's an absolute joke. Fuck my life. But anyways, let's get going on with the video here.
Sorry, I'm not sure.
Oh shit. Alexa, turn off. Stupid bitch. Was good, Fresh Trades. Okay, so let's talk about the markets for the last couple of days. Crazy shit happened. Obviously, I was kind of on my travel day back. So I didn't catch the majority of this move. I'll be honest with you, but I posted all the levels for you guys in advance. So say something, Kashi. There you go, bro. Anyways, so I posted all the levels for you guys here, and some of the guys in the Discord, clearly some people on Twitter, were trying to short this thing. So this has been like the biggest up move, I believe, ever on BitMEX. I think I saw that kicking around. I have not checked myself, so don't fucking quote me on that. But someone told me this was like $2 billion volume, this up move here. So why you try to short a fucking, freight train? Obviously what we had here, on Bitcoin was a bottom form, right? When we came up here and we rejected the first time, we had rejected, and it's not retail, right? Like the more you test an area, what is happening there, right? Remember, these were not check marks originally. These were X's, right? Why were they X's? Because they were stops there, right? So when a level is tested like this multiple times, what's happening is retail sees this as what? They say, oh, strong resistance, right? Strong resistance. I'm going to short this. Yeah, this short was nice. This lined up based on, we had a low, retest, lower low, right? This one was a little bit riskier, but you had very defined risk levels. This one paid off, but when it didn't get as low as these lows, what does that imply? We have a low, we have a lower low, then a higher low. We see this setup all the time, right? So you got to think, like I say this all the time, guys, you got to think like the market maker, right? Oh, this looks ugly as shit. Low, lower low, then a higher low, right? So let's say people expect a bounce here. A lot of people are talking about 6,100. When we have this low form here, there's retail traders getting long in here. They're putting their stops under here. What do? They run it below. They're getting more long, right? They're going up and they're testing this supply zone, this order block. Again, test it. They actually break a higher high, right? Make a higher high here. Why would they do that? To catch breakout traders, maybe, right? People had all sorts of fucking stupid patterns on this thing, right? So then they make a higher low, and then they go back the third time. What does retail think? Retail thinks that this is strong resistance. They're like, look, it's rejected it twice. Third touch, it's going to be an even stronger one. So what's building up here? Right? Shorts. People are getting short up here. They're putting their stops up here. They're saying, okay, as soon as it gets up here, I'm going to short it. Just like these last two times. They're putting their buy stops up here. And they're built, so by testing it multiple times, it's not making the resistance stronger. It's depleting the supply zone, the supply being the stops, right? And then boom, crushed. So I don't know why anyone was trying to short this on the third time, especially when we had this bullish formation at the bottom here, which I posted as well. So what's happening, bro? It's hot as piss in my apartment, boys. So we had this bullish formation. We posted it, and then we posted at like 6,300, I believe, saying like it looks like we're potentially bottoming out here. We failed. We bounced here kind of as we expected, and then, you know, the move was to get long on the break of either this level. Obviously, you could have tried to long, but there's a pretty obvious long at 6,300. So I had this chart forever, right? I finally deleted it to do some new shit, right? But we bottomed out at 6,100. We had the higher low form right here. And then this was a key level, right? This was a level everyone was watching. And once we got a close above here, right? Nice bullish reaction. Same levels in play on the way back up. And we got a good close, and then this is when the move started. People tried to short this block in here, which I'll try and highlight here. I believe it was this one. And what did everyone think this was? I guess a breaker. I know I had a lot of people ask me what this block was here. I believe this is the one. Oh, fuck my life. Still so shit at trading view, boys, for fuck's sakes. Oh my god. This is what happens when I don't use a mouse. So people were trying to short this, I think, as a breaker or something. I don't know. I had no idea why you would try and short this. This was a good level because it blew out this high, but when it got nuked through, if you're playing this as a breaker, what are the rules of the breaker, right? You have your stop right here, right? So if you're going to short the test of the breaker and just enter right here saying, okay, it blew high, then it got nuked, it comes back, I'm going to sell the retest, you know, that's a valid setup. Then again, you are kind of going counter trend with these higher lows here, but that's okay. But your stop should be super tight on this move, right? I mean, this is not super accurate right here, what I'm showing you, but I mean, this is not a super huge area. And some people said they were getting wrecked on that short, so I don't really know how. Like, if you're going to take a trade like this, the whole idea of it is that your risk is super tight because your stop is super close to your entry. Like, those are the best trades, right? Because if this trade paid off, you're getting here, right? And your risk is only this tiny area right here, right? It's a really good risk reward, but if you're wrong, you're out right away at a small loss. So like the best setups, yes, are the ones where the entry and the invalidation of the move are super close to each other. So hopefully that kind of makes sense here, fellas. Holy shit, the chat. Is this making sense? I will go through the questions in here as soon as I can. Is this making sense for the breaker? So when you use that, you want to take super tight risk reward. That's the whole point of the entry. Here's the breaker you wanted, right? This was the setup. There was two longs to me that were obvious. And I'll show you them. So just make sure I get the right candle here. I believe this is the right one. So what this would be is a swing low, right? And on a lower time frame, you might be able to see it even better. We had a swing low here, right? That was a swing low on a 4 hour. A low, and then this is a breaker. Same idea. Exact same idea as this move, right? Except for going the other way. And where would you play it? You do the exact same thing, right? You can enter on the retest of the breaker and get long. I mean, it punctured it just a bit. Maybe you get stopped out, but I feel like a lot of people took this long. The idea is you put your stop right here. I mean, it's not going to be the end of the world if you say, okay, well, where am I targeting if I'm right here? I'm targeting at the very least right here. And so that is like a crazy risk reward, even to right here, right? Playing this breaker setup, you're buying the touch. So, I mean, you can put your stop looser when you have the upside potential. I mean, the upside paid off huge here, right? If you're targeting these highs, you say, okay, we're going to hope it plays the range again. Remember how many times we've talked about ranges, right? Where do you want to be shorting? And where do you want to be longing? Right? We're in the bottom 1/3 of this range. It lines up with the breaker. To me, this setup lines up a whole lot more than the other one. That said, the other one's not terrible because you can obviously pull a fib from this high to this low, and you'll get a... See, this is the thing with the OTE, right? Like, some people just pull the fib, say it's 70% retracement. I'm going to fucking buy it, or sell it, excuse me. It doesn't work like that. You have to have more confluence. Obviously, you do have this potential breaker here, but we're kind of in no man's land here, right? This is just the middle of a consolidation. Whereas you got to remember the higher time frame directional bias. On the daily chart, we have a bullish setup here, right? We have a low and then a higher low, a low, a higher high. This is a higher high, and then a higher low. So if you're playing a low, a higher high, a higher low, why are you trying to short here? At the very least, you could have a smarter short, even though obviously didn't work, would have been at least up here. Trying to short here made no sense in my opinion. Just because the higher time frame is bullish here. The daily chart is bullish, and any time frame, this is pretty sure this is like a 1 hour or 4 hour level. If you're taking this trade on the 4 hour, but the daily is bullish, why would you be looking for shorts on the 4 hour? That doesn't make sense. Whereas this breaker, the higher time frame is bullish. We have a low, a higher high, a higher low forming, right? That's the smarter long. That's the one that made more sense. So I don't know. Maybe I should have deleted this line off my chart because I do feel, excuse me, I do feel like there's a good portion of people who saw that level on my chart and were like, okay, it's a potential breaker. I'm going to short it. Yeah, so Badge settings. What the fuck? Is the quality shit now all of a sudden? Oh god. My stream health went to bad, boys. I don't know how to fucking fix it. Glad you can't see my password, bro. The keyframe frequency. Quality is fine. People need to change their settings in HD. Yeah, try going to HD. It seems like that worked for people. Oh, here. Maybe it's mine. Yeah, if you switch it to HD, it looks like it's working better. Okay, cool. So hopefully that made sense, right? Bullish daily. I mean, the weekly also was looking bullish, right? We had some really good closes. She gonna get rid of the fucking... Right? Like the weekly here, we had a low form. And this is technically a higher swing low. This is a higher swing high, technically. I know it looks weird because it's on the weekly, but you have a low here forming. And generally, when we had an obvious low form on the weekly, you know, you can expect some sort of move. Like, I mean, obviously the macro trend is still down, right? Because this could literally come up here, roll over, and we could go down further, right? Like, I mean, that's what it's been doing. What has the sentiment been, you know, in these fucking areas, right? The exact same on Twitter. Insane bullishness here. Insane bullishness here. One huge candle. Insane bullishness. The bottom is in for good. You know, it's the same old story, but it's lower highs, lower lows. I mean, technically not a lower low, but on this one, but this made a lower low, right? So if you're taking a trade based on, you know, the daily and the 4-hour analysis, which is what that breaker was on, you were not in line with the higher time frame order flow, with the higher time frame bias. So that's why that trade didn't work out. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's fucking move on here. Unhide my drawing tools. So what's next here? I posted these new levels last night. To me, these are the two key ones for this thing to continue. I think we are so close, right? All of this lines up that this is a weekly block. We have the equilibrium of the block is here, which we just pierced through. And then this is the open of June, which is pretty crazy to think about, that we opened at, you know, almost 7,500, and, you know, June was a shitty month for me and Bitcoin. Anyways, these are the levels I think are important here for this thing to move up. I do think that we're going to get here. I think we could see some sideways here. We could dip lower. I don't really want to see us come down here again. I think that would be bearish. But I'm not trying to short here. There was a swing failure pattern trade, obviously, available yesterday or this morning, whatever the fuck it was. So I didn't take that trade. I'm going to be looking for shorts like the chart I posted once we run these highs. I think we're all the way up here. This looks like a pretty nice low. I'm not going to try and fight the trend. This is some real strength. Everyone says it looks like real buying. I don't disagree. I mean, this is a huge fucking candle. Couple of candles and a huge amount of volume. So I think we're going to grind towards 7,800. I know XC, homie, you fucking were talking about that earlier. I agree with you. I think we see a slow grind towards these stops. I think we're so close here. I'd be very surprised if we don't come for these. It just seems like the natural move, right? When you are looking at the chart on the higher time frame, fucking A, I need more templates, boys. Fucking Kazo. Crazy bastard. Oh my god. What the fuck? Okay, fuck it. This is my new chart. Oh, I'm sorry. There's got to be a faster way to do this. I know you guys are going to tell me in the comments, but by the time I see it, I'll already be done. So it's too late for you. Sorry. I feel like part of the charm of my streams is the fact that you guys see me fucking go autistic when I try and use technology. I think that's, you know, part of the enjoyment, I imagine. Okay, so when we try and analyze the chart on a higher time frame to determine what trades we're going to look for on a smaller time frame, intraday basis, whatever it is, you want to mark out where the liquidity is going to be on the higher time frame. So you can do that very simply by just like marking, levels where, there might be stops. And so obviously we're going to have liquidity down here. These stops have been taken. Obviously some of these lows were rated. But there's still going to be stops down here, right? What else do we have here? This is that, double top that I had marked on the other chart. Basically 7,800. And you got to say, okay, well, based on where we are in terms of a trading range and where the highest time frame liquidity draws, right? So when they're trying to pair massive orders, they need huge areas of liquidity, right? 6,800, there was that two touches, tons of liquidity, retail and institutional. There's, large crypto funds, whatever you want to call it, whatever everyone's fucking calling it. There's large orders accumulated in these certain areas. And so for the entities manipulating the market, whatever you want to say, where are they going to target? They need to target where the largest amount of liquidity to pair their orders is going to be. So they do this on the highest time frame. And so when you determine where the spots where there's going to be liquidity on the highest time frame are, right, at the 11,800 level, remember we have a bunch here. We have a bunch probably above this kind of area here. We got to say, okay, well, where are we closest to, right? When we form this low here from this high, oops, I did that the wrong way. We formed a range, right? And what have we talked about so many times, right? Longs make sense in the lower third of the range. Shorts make sense in the upper third. So we're below equilibrium of this range here. We formed a low, right? This is that short entry we were going over, the breaker at 6,100. It's right here. So we formed a low. We're in the lower part of the range. Notice it's the OTE on the weekly chart. And there's a clear area of liquidity, here as well at the 6,800 level. We were down here. Imagine, this time hasn't happened yet. We formed a low. We're in the lower part of a range. There's a liquidity pool here. There's one below us. And then there's a huge one up here, obviously. So our bias on the 3-day chart could be temporarily bullish, saying it makes sense that after this low is formed, we sweat stops under these lows from this move. And these lows here, these were all rated. And we formed a low. Where's the most logical place to take it next? Yes, it could have gone down more. But there's also a lot of liquidity above the market. So when you go on the lower time frame with that premise in mind, you start looking for entries that could be bullish, right? Knowing we're targeting, this double top here and this top, which eventually got taken. So you got to do that top-down analysis, determine where they want to take the market on a higher time frame in terms of where the liquidity is going to be, and then realize that on the lower time frame, you can use the exact same concept, right? Here's that 6,800 level, right? So on the lower time frame, you can know that, okay, well, obviously the higher time frame targets are here and here. But if you wanted to take a short here, there's also lower time frame liquidity under this consolidation. So what do? They rip it through, right? They trigger all these orders, all of these orders, late people trying to long this for a breakout, and then they fucking crank it through, right? What are they doing when they blow out these orders here and these orders here? Right? No different than coming up. People are trying to get long here. You know, they crush them, consolidate. This is a what? A market maker sell model, right? And then they clear out the consolidations. Everyone was drawing the next box down here. If you remember in the ICT videos and in other places, it doesn't have to complete perfectly every time. So, but we had the, you know, expansion, consolidation, distribution. An opportunity to sell was in here. But really what they're doing is clearing out all of these people that got long here before making the actual move. So it's the same logic, right? There's the higher time frame liquidity here and up here, and they're clearing lower time frame liquidity on the other side to get more long, knowing that they're heading towards this higher time frame liquidity. I know I'm saying liquidity a whole bunch of fucking times, but I hope that makes sense. Like when you analyze it on the daily, just look, where does it make sense, right? Based on this range, it makes sense to be looking for longs down here. And within this same range, we are now getting up in an area where, you know, you could be a seller. Potentially. It doesn't have to clear this. It could sell off here, but I do think it's going to take this liquidity. It's so close. I think that's the draw. I think that there's going to be some sideways in between before then. Like, I think we're going to be stuck in this, below this block. I think we, you know, remember how long, it's funny how crazy people's sentiment changes on Twitter, right? Over the last couple of weeks. Literally just like this. It's like Bitcoin going to zero, Bitcoin going to fucking zero, Bitcoin going to zero, but then like some hope. Oh my God, we're going to fucking 8K. Oh shit, we're going to zero. And then like now we're going to 12K. Like it's been a few fucking weeks. Like you could have only taken one trade here and been laughing. Like 2 trades, right? We've basically charted the exact move from here up to here. And then like this next one again, like it's so funny. People want to be in a trade all the time. And everyone's attention span is so short in crypto. It's like unbelievable. The less you trade, the better you're doing it, right? Like you could have just entered a long based on this being an order block or supply zone, whatever you want to call it, and we formed a higher high. We had the down candle, bullish break in market structure here. Obviously cleared out this high. What do? You buy the retracement. I mean, that was an easy-ass trade, but you're sitting in it for a couple of days. You're sitting in a lot of up and down. Like, people were going crazy just in these couple of days while I was away. Like, this was, you know, hilarious on Twitter, these couple of candles. So if you zoom out, you're going to see, I think, the market a lot better, and you got to frame it in terms of liquidity. Where is the liquidity on the higher time frame? That's where the market is going to be drawn, because that's where you compare the biggest orders. Like, there's a metric fuck ton of liquidity up here. So you compare a lot of orders. If they want to fucking crush it through these lows and make Bitcoin, you know, actually go, you know, down below the 5,000s, it makes sense to trigger all these orders so they could fucking dump it. So that's what I said last night in that post. That's what I meant. You know, max pain scenario would be running these stops and then dumping it off. So there's a lot of trades available. Hopefully some of you got long and were able to catch some of this. I honestly didn't get any of this move, which is fine because I nailed the last couple of moves before it, right? So not too concerned. Yeah, yeah, so I guess we'll go through some questions. Does anyone have any specific questions about what I just went over? Like, mark the liquidity on the higher time frame, frame your lower time frame trades based on where the market is going to go in terms of a range and in terms of where the nearest liquidity is on the higher time frame first and then on the lower time frame, right? Like, you're going to go crazy just staring at a 1 hour chart and fucking watching all of this. Like, if you bought a long here and then just stared at this thing on a 1 hour chart for days, like, you're going to go nuts. And you're going to capitulate out of your position. You're going to be the guy who goes long here, and then you watch this trade for fucking hours. You're like, oh my God, it dumped, it broke below my low, you sell, and then it works, right? And okay, or maybe you longed it, here, and you got lucky and you didn't get stopped out here, but you watch all of this, and it's going down again. Like, the market is designed to psych you out of your position. Like, you're not supposed to be on the ride. So if you frame your trades based on how you think the market is going to move in terms of where the liquidity is, and you zoom out a bit, you're going to have way less stress, way less losses. You're going to take less trades. Everyone who I've been talking to over the last couple of months who says they're improving says they're taking less trades. And that's super common because you're just taking the most cherry pick setup possible, right? And you're crushing it. You don't need to be in these day trades and these, multiple positions. Like, I think Flood got a fucking huge trade, made a couple of Bitcoins here, and he just entered at the 6,200. Like, he entered once we kind of broke and closed above here, I think. And then he just held it. I mean, that's a great fucking trade. You could put your stop below here. Right? Like, this was that 6,800. This was a level here. I mean, look at all the consolidation you have here. There's an order block for sure here, whatever. You don't need to think like that all the time, right? Like I've said, and Cred has said, and, technical analysts said, there's so many different terms for similar concepts, right? But this is an important area in price. And so when we closed above, this consolidation, or if you want to use an order block, this order block, when we had a close above it, that was a bullish sign. We had a low form. We had another bullish order block here. And you could just target 6,800 and have your stop below this swing low. I mean, there's tons of opportunities to get in this thing. I think I posted, if we get above here, it's looking good. To at least go back to the top of the range, you could have just gotten in this one on the higher time frame. If you didn't get in this thing, it's okay. There's going to be an opportunity to get in another trade here. So I guess I'll just finish up with kind of my thoughts for what's next, and then, we'll just go to some questions or something. I feel like I'm rambling. So yeah, I think a run on these highs, I would look for a short. Just seems to make sense to me. It would be super low risk, right? We have a weekly order block here. Everyone is eyeing this level. Obviously, if we crush through this thing and close above here, we could, fly higher into the 8,000s for sure. I mean, this is the first area of resistance at 8,000. Right? What is this? It's a bearish order block, right? Hasn't been tested yet. I mean, there's another short here at 8,000. So we could spike. We could spike through here, like as high as this thing, and then dump off. Who knows? Or dump right back to here and then take off again. So I will definitely punt a short up here when these stops get run. There's going to be a bunch of liquidations of people trying to short this. I'll wait for the right setup and I'll punt it and I'll post it. But that's kind of my thoughts. I mean, this is looking super strong. And if we clear this, there's obviously a high probability that we can go higher. But it doesn't mean that the macro trend is completely flipped. Even if we break this high, there's still this major swing high up here. I mean, if we start fucking around and forming a higher low here and then going at this swing high, that's going to look super bullish. But the higher time frame is still very much down. We could just be doing our little up move before we put in a lower top and go down more. So that's kind of the premise I'm banking on for punting a short here, saying, okay, this is going to be a lower high. But this lower high could come up here. You know, we could go higher. But I do think this would be a very nice bull trap to, you know, but Twitter is insanely bullish right now. Rightly so. This is a major, you know, bull candle. But, you know, obviously temper your expectations always. This thing could fucking crush through and go lower. So I think it just lines up timing-wise with some of the people tweeting like, oh, like the ETF and, you know, this is when the bull run started last year. So there's all sorts of shit going on that could, you know, complement people getting sucked into thinking we're going to go back to 10K again. So we'll see. I mean, I'll punt along, but I'm totally okay with getting stopped out, realizing that this thing's going to go higher, or punt a short, excuse me. Getting stopped out, realizing this thing's going to go higher, and then get in long. You don't need to be a bull or bear. I only use those terms because, you know, people relate to them. Just mark levels, like I'm doing here, saying this is an area that I like for a potential short. And if the short setup works out, great. If it doesn't, I'll have levels where I can look to get on long or look to try and short again. And what are those levels based off of? People were asking me how I got, you know, this level. This was an open high low of a weekly candle, right? Open high low close. Same thing with this one. Is an open high low close of a daily candle, I believe. This one was a weekly. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts. I want to see for us to continue up and, you know, continue this continuation over here. I don't think we want to see a daily close below this level, especially not this one. I think if we daily close below here, I definitely think we come back and retest that thing, and I don't think that would be great. A lot of people are saying, oh, I want a retest. You know, here's my OTE. Let's get a retest all the way back down here so I can catch this thing. I don't think it's going to retest this deep. If it gets back below this level, this could have just been a massive stop hunt before going down more on the higher time frame. But I definitely think we want to stay up here and consolidate kind of underneath this weekly order block if this thing's going to continue up. I would say kind of 7,000 to 7,100 below there. I think this bull move invalidates. So that's kind of my thoughts. So let's open up the floor to some fucking questions here. Octavius, message retracted. What you trying to say, bro? What's your overall bias? You were still thinking coming down from November stops. Overall bias, hopefully I covered that. I think the weekly and the daily are starting to look potentially bullish. The daily for sure, right? This is a significant area broken on the daily. Not as dramatic on the weekly, right? I mean, this is a swing high, a high with two lower highs beside it, but this is the significant break on the weekly. But still, this does look like a bottom is formed, and we could potentially be making a leg up to that swing high. But the daily for sure, this is a very, you know, bullish break and mark structure on the daily. So short-term trades that you're looking for right now, probably not shorts, right? Unless you're, you know, on the really small time frame for, you know, my scalper friends or whatever. I mean, this is a bull flag, but you could say, you know, if we consolidate down, I think we're going to form another range. And then you can get chopped up in there. I mean, those aren't the trades I like taking, but I think the daily is looking bullish. Weekly, still meh. Obviously, the highest time frames are very bearish still. I wouldn't call it resistance. I would call it the next area of liquidity. The moon will come out when the sky is dark wherever you live. Say something about Ripple. Cripple. So I'm actually in a long on this bad boy. I bought some of that liquidation. I mean, this was nasty. So you can't really see it on this chart, right? But let's look at... right? So this looked like so many other coins looked. Oops. Right, like we had so many coins looked the exact same. Um, like GNT, it's very similar, right? We had a huge move up, then we had, just a dump, and then it was down to a level that we know, supported price here. And, a lot of these alts were showing up, people were charting them, and they were looking good. I believe ADA looked good too, right? Came down into this area, we had a nice reaction. So Ripple looked to be shaping up the same. And everyone was looking along it, I believe, probably, somewhere in here. Could use this block, I guess. So everyone was looking along this thing when it came down. Had a very nice bounce here, and this was just nasty. This was like the yearly low, I think. Yeah. This was the low so far of 2018. Was here. So I know it's not, exactly it, but there we go. Oh, get fucked. So you have the yearly low just get crushed, and this was a nasty, nasty stop run. And we saw all sorts of people getting liquidated that were just trying to long this order block, right? So many alts looked like this and bounced. This was just a nasty, nasty stop run. I saw some people get liquidated on this. Obviously, if you're going to be buying an order block here, a stop should be here, right? So if you bought it up here, your stop is down here. Let's say you bought it as soon as it touched it, and you're targeting this high. I mean, that's a good RR trade, right? But the reason people are getting liquidated here is for what? They're either over leveraged, or they're using like cross with no stop, and they're getting their entire account liquidated. Or they have no stop and they're over leveraged, and they're using 25 or 50x or even 10x, but they are over leveraged, using too much of their account, and they're getting stopped out and liquidated, whether it's their position or their whole account. What sucks is this is probably going to go up now. But I mean, this was so obvious, right? This is, what do we have here? We have a daily order block, we have a yearly low, and we have a bunch of people talking about alt season, and alt's going to take off. So people were buying this by the shitload. And when the smart money is buying, they're buying in the down candles, right? So these liquidations, smart money was buying the shit out of this. They're pairing their long orders. I bought like here. My entry is 67.30. It's not the greatest. I'm like at break even right now. I wish I would have gotten in way down here. But to me, I just saw the stop run happening. I was buying it here, or wherever it was on the fucking chart. Yeah, it's around here. I bought it around here. I got stopped out right away. Obviously, it was a stop hunt. When you look at this shit and you see it happening live, I mean, it was pretty clear what this was. You saw a bunch of people posting that they were getting wrecked. Bunch of liquidations. To me, it was an easy buy. And I was up already, a decent amount, 15, 20%, when it got up here. So if this continues up, this could be a great trade for me and for anyone else who bought it. I know I'm not the only one. But that was a clear stop run. And it sucks. It was nasty, but if you're using proper risk management, you're not getting fucked. You're not getting your account liquidated or an entire position liquidated. If you are, even though that was a crazy wick, you didn't have a stop and you were using too much leverage or your position was too big. Can you take a diarrhea on stream? No. Sorry. You could technically try and get long here, but what's the risk reward, right? What's the risk reward of getting? You're longing resistance. You're longing a weekly order block, a bearish one, right? So why would you long here? I mean, yes, there's going to be an opportunity as price, in my opinion, which I think it will do, right? If price is going to range here for a bit, but I still think it's going to go up through here, or, we'll do one more. So let's say it consolidates for a couple of days, and then it goes for its liquidity. You don't want to buy it right here. You want to buy it on the lower time frame on one of these pullbacks, right? Like we'll probably see a low form here, and then what will we see? A stop run. And then a higher low, right? And then the move up. That's what you want to see. And I did that. We talked about this same move in here. And the exact same thing set up. I believe it was right for this run here. Yeah. So when we were here, wherever this was in price, I had marked off basically saying we want to get above here, or whatever it was. If this move's going to continue, how can I move this fucking tire thing? We're going to have to get above here, right? Very similar setup. We had resistance at the top, whatever you want to call it, an order block, and we had a low, a lower low, and then a higher low, and then it took off, right? And you don't want to buy, you don't want to buy the long up here and have to sit through all of this, or buy it up here and have to be in the drawdown, in the negative. You want to buy it on a pullback that you think is going to lead to the next move up. So you don't have to long it once it breaks. Sorry guys, that's my dryer. You don't have to wait for it to break here and then retest. If it consolidates here and you think it's going to continue to go up, just make the smart move, mark off some key levels, and buy it on a down move with the anticipation of it continuing up. Max pain. That's a potential setup. I posted it last night. I think we could see a run on that liquidity and then a dump. Yes, I'm going to take a trade there and attempt one. And if it works out, it works out. And if it doesn't, we'll probably go higher. Also, what are your thoughts on scalping? I don't really do it. I've blown mini accounts, little tiny accounts trying to scalp. It just doesn't seem to work for me. I'm much more of a swing trader. If you guys remember, I posted this trade like 3 weeks ago, or a month ago even. I said this is a clean double low, clean lows here. We had this whole move up, a bounce off of here again. What is this forming? Right? It was forming liquidity. So I knew that they were going to come through and take this eventually, this area, these lows, right? And it did finally today. So I didn't get short way up here. I got short. I posted this in June. I said, look, the higher time frame, the daily, there's a clear area of liquidity here. And so I got short on one of these pullbacks into an order block here, targeting these lows. That's much more my kind of trade, trade that I'm in for days, something along those lines, sometimes a couple of weeks. Not normally that long. Usually it's, anywhere from kind of like 1 to 5 days. I don't really like to hold trades over the weekend. Scalping works if you do it the same as if you were trading the higher time frames. If you have good risk management, you're starting your analysis on the higher time frame. So if you're scalping, you want to maybe analyze the 4 hour, the 1 hour, and then the 15-minute, right? And if you're, really wanting to degen the 1 hour, so maybe you'll draw levels on the 1 hour, right? You'll draw a swing low on the 1 hour. And then you'll go down to the 30-minute. And you'll say, okay, well, I don't fucking know. We're looking for, based on the 1 hour being bearish, we had the swing low on the 1 hour broken. We could look to be a seller on the 15-minute chart and look for an order block, right? We have a key level. Forget that this was the 1 hour level. Pretend this is a weekly level, but it's a 1 hour level. We know that the trend is down on the higher time frame, which in this case is the 1 hour. We have a key level, and we can look for an order block to get short in, right? So an up candle before a down move that breaks market structure downside, it retraces and then it dumps off, right? That would be a scalp. See? Even on the, you get an even better entry on the 5-minute. See? Up candle before down moves, breaks market structure. What happens? They bring it right back up, dump it down. So, I mean, that would be a scalp. As long as you do it the exact same as if it's, regular swing trading, day trading, whatever you like to do. You have your entry, you have your stop above the breaker or the block, and you target these old lows. This paid off huge, but your initial target is here, right? These old lows. I mean, that's a 4.5 to 1. So that's a great scalp. This one obviously paid off huge because on the higher time frame, right? If you go back to that hourly, right? You had this low to raid, but you also had all of these lows to raid based on the higher time frame, right? So you can get your super tight entry and target the 1 hour liquidity, but get your entry on the 5-minute and say, okay, well, really, I know there's liquidity obviously right here, but down here on the hourly and even lower, obviously this one paid off huge. You could have gotten, my entry was very similar to this on this trade. But I got in over here and I used like the hourly to enter. But that's scalping. The 1 hour could be your higher time frame, shit like that. What liquidity is defined as is area where obvious stops would be. And I kind of went over that with this example, right? And what do we have? Let's just use Bitcoin because it's so easy, right? What do we have here? What did we have at 6,800, right? We had an area where a bunch of people put their stops because they saw this is a strong resistance area, right? Oh, denied, 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 right? This must be strong resistance. So I'm going to put my stops up here and try and short, right? Just think how a retail trader would think. What would they think this is? They would think this is strong resistance, right? This would be an area where you could put your stops above, a triple top, a double top, all of that shit. That's where liquidity is going to be. Below swing lows and swing highs, that's where liquidity is going to be. Think of where, as most of you probably learned retail trading and shit, think of where you would put your stop, right? Maybe it's a trend line, right? Some sort of triangle forming here. Right? Where are people going to put their stops on this triangle? Right? This is like a great example here, right? You have whatever you want to fucking call this. People are going to put their stop below this swing low or this swing low for a breakout of this triangle. Or above this swing high for a breakdown. What happens? Breaks down, stops all of these people out, and then it takes off upwards. Right? So swing lows, swing highs, triple tops, double tops, wherever you think you would put your stop, or an area where they've tested it multiple times, where retail would put their stop, that's an area where liquidity is going to be. Easy to play with multiple Bitcoin low lev if you have low capital. Playing the long run is difficult. Not necessarily, bro. Consistency is so important, right? You got to understand compounding. If you get a bunch of trades right in a row, you're going to make money. You're going to grow your account. Every time you lose money, it's so much harder to get that shit back. If you want to take less trades, I promise you want to take the perfect scenario, the cherry pick setup that's like everything lines up, the higher time frame bias, the order block or supply demand zone, whatever you want to call it, all of that's lining up. There's a liquidity target. When all that lines up, that's the trade you want to be in. And you do enough of those in a row, you're going to blow your account up in a good way. Trying to just catch small time frame trades is a great way to just burn up in fees and money and mistakes. Trust me, done it several times. Still holding, nice. Do you use RSI stock? No, I don't use any of that. PA for the win. All I use is price action. I don't use any sort of indicators. When I was learning, I used to throw like moving averages on the higher time frame chart. I used to do like, I don't know, even a fucking 10 and a 20 or 9 and an 18. And I would do it on the higher time frame chart. And what I would do is when the lower time frame one or the lower, period one is above the higher period one and they're moving apart, it's called stacking. And that means when the moving averages were stacking, I would only be looking for, this way, I'd only be looking for longs. And when they're stacking like this, away, they're stacking here, but they're moving away from each other. I'm only looking for shorts here. And I just did that when I was learning, as that was a good, easy way for me to determine the higher time frame bias. Okay, on the weekly, this entire period of time here, I would only be looking for longs. And this entire period of time here, on the lower time frames, I'd only be looking for shorts. So that's a kind of a cut and dry way you can use an indicator. But other than that, I never use any indicators. I mean, I used to, not anymore. Chart, do some interesting stuff. See you later, XC Crypto. Chart ADA, you won't. I thought I already did. Right? There was the buy. Right? Where was the buy on this? This was super obvious too. So like Ripple, right? Everyone was seeing the same thing on these alts. If you're not buying in this, like if you want to trade alts, I don't like really trading alts, but here's another block right here, right? You could have bought this one, you could have bought this one. Like if you're not just drawing these higher time frame levels and you see price come all the way down, like there's tons of quick little alt flips you can get, right? It doesn't have to be alt season all the time. Like I'll take 20%, especially when you can use, a tiny bit of leverage. It's obviously on max, you want to be careful. 30%. This is the exact same setup as Ripple, except for on the second touch, it just fucking murdered all of these shorts, right? Exact same setup. But Ripple went here, ADA had a nice bounce. So for this, right, because of this, I think a coin like Ripple, I think Ripple could see, that just had been a nasty stop run and then actually have a little run like this one. Chart Cardano. What the fuck? Oh, this is Cardano. Shows you how much I know about alts. Hey, I was wondering why you don't color your boxes according to time frames. Okay. The reason I stopped doing that is because what I found is a lot of people in my Discord, and it's not a bad thing. I mean, I'm sharing this shit publicly, and like a lot of people, I just saw my exact charts, and not saying I created them, but I just saw like a lot of people who I know I talk to and interact with just have the exact same fucking levels with me, and people who were learning. I'm not saying, there's experienced traders who understand price action, who understand trading, who had similar areas to me marked, right? But I know people who are learning, a lot of people, at least in my Discord, I'm trying to sound as least douchey as possible here while sounding douchey. had like the exact same, and I just didn't want people just to be copying and pasting my shit. Like obviously I post it so people can mark up their charts, but I wanted to just make it a little more challenging for people so they could say, okay, he has this area marked, why? And then they have to go in the chart, draw it out, and say, okay, why is this here? Maybe it's on the weekly, maybe it's on the daily. If I just have everything color coded, I think it doesn't help as much for people who are trying to learn. Obviously, what I'm trying to do is help people, so I thought it would just be a fun challenge. And I don't know, I'm kind of digging the black and gray a little bit, I guess. Yeah, I know this one, bro. I don't know. I'm fucking retarded with TradingView. So you look for longs around. I don't know if we'll pull back this far, but if we do, be careful. I mean, I would definitely try and punt along, but I think if we get down that far, it might be bearish. So like I said, I want to kind of see 72.65 hold or 7,100 hold. 7,000, yeah, definitely punt along. But I don't know if we'll get that low. Like, don't get caught just waiting for us to pull back to 7,000. If it's looking really bullish and we consolidate under this weekly level, but it's looking very bullish, don't be afraid to buy at 72 or 7,300. Because if the upside is, 8,000, you're going to want to be on that move. And your risk, you could have a stop just down here. Couple $100 stop for several $100 potential profit, right? So don't get caught up not getting in a move because you're waiting for it to come all the way down here. Hopefully I went over this, right? Similar to what he's saying. I will look for a short if we take that 7,800 liquidity, and I would potentially look to get on a long before we go through this area here. And then obviously that would be a hedge for a short taken up here. Because if I take a short up here and it gets blown out, but I have a long from down here, I'm winning. What up? I can't pronounce your name. Nguyen. MFT did pull a ripple. Who are good traders to follow in your opinion and who you have learned from besides ITT? You should follow Crypto Cred. You should follow Flood. You should follow Aurelius. You should follow Hasaka. You should follow EasyBruh. You should follow the Crypto Dog. You should follow Don Alt for sure. You should follow guys like Trader Scarface, Mr. TA, Technical Anal. A guy crushes it. He comes from the Forex market, right? Get a little different perspective. I'm sure I'm forgetting people, but those are, a handful of great traders to follow. I mean, Cred has tons of learning material. Tom Dante, obviously, Trader SZ fucking slays. He was, an old ICT student and has grown and has, does his own teaching. His webinars are awesome. Shout out to him. I'm sure I'm missing other people, but that's a handful of great guys that you can follow who are killing it on the regular. Obviously ICT, Kazanomics. I'm blocked now, but that guy knows how to fucking trade. DJ Thistle, all great traders. Do you put acid bid for potential breakers? It depends, right? It depends on the time frame that the breaker is on. I'm not always watching the charts. As I've said several times, I have a full-time job. I run a business. So if I'm in front of the chart, I don't have the orders set. Like if I'm at the computer and I see something forming and I'm watching. But if I'm confident in the setup, I will set my bids or my asks and my stops in advance. And generally, the times I do that are on higher time frame trades that I'm confident in the setup. And maybe it's going to be happening overnight. Who knows? But yeah. Selling OTC XRP U18 contracts. Nice. Drying them Genco jeans. Nice. Spooky dryer. I don't actually own any Genco jeans. I have some nudies. Super douchey. I got some nudies, some Naked and Famous, some Levi's. Thoughts on ADA? I went over. Tron. Didn't Tron fucking neck? I mean... looks like a lot of alts right now, right? Looks like it could be a good buy. You could put a stop down here, targeting up here. But I think they did a pretty gnarly stop run on MEX, if I'm not mistaken. Right? But there's or you could have, you know, a buying opportunity further down based on even, I mean, the thing about a lot of alts is they either look really good in terms of a risk reward play, right? Ripple looked great, and a lot of people got crushed on it because if they could just launch, it could get launched through here and, you know, run these stops before taking off. So, you know, as long as you have a smart stop, if you want to get in this thing, you know, stop below here or, you know, maybe a little lower, and then, you know, your first upside target would be up here. Yeah, so there's a point. So there's a point to go on the lowest time frame. Right? So let's say, remember here. So on the hourly, we don't really have, you know, a setup. But we know that it's bearish on the higher time frames. But if I'm down to the 15-minute, I see this block here, right? And I can get in up here. Or I see this block here, you know, and I can get in here. But what you could do is, if your premise is that you're getting short here, and you have an order block here, you could go on the lower time frame and you can find an better entry. So instead of getting in here, you see another order block up here, you know, that you can get in at, right? The price at, and what I mean by this, obviously this isn't hindsight, so it looks stupid. And you wouldn't have seen this entry right away, right? On the 15-minute, but you see this block form. There is actually an entry based on this block getting formed, and then the enter here. But the point is with price being fractal, market structure is going to break down on the lower time frame first, then on the higher time frame. So if you're waiting for an entry on the 4-hour, you know, which you get here, you have, you know, 2 chances to get in this trade. Obviously, this was a massive stop run, right? This happens. This would be what? A Judas swing. Swing failure pattern, whatever you want to call it. But if you go down to the hourly, you actually have this order block happen first. So now your risk is even tighter, right? Because it's a smaller time frame. This breakdown is a bearish break in market structure, which you saw on the 1-hour before you saw the breakdown on the 4-hour. So this order block formed first because price is fractal on the lower time frames. The market structure will shift sooner than it will on the higher time frame. So all it allowed you to do in this instance, instead of waiting for this order block to form, now your risk is here, right? You're targeting here, you know, and your risk is here. You obviously got stopped out. Let's pretend you didn't get stopped out and this wasn't a Judas swing, because if this was your setup and you were planning on getting short, if you got stopped out here, you re-enter here. Or you buy the stop run, you get right back in, right? Because you have a tight stop, you get knocked out right away. Oh, get fucked, like. You get knocked out right away, but you get back in it because it's a Judas swing, swing failure pattern, whatever you want to call it. But instead, on the hourly, you have a better entry because you see the market structure shift earlier. Your stop and your entry are closer to each other because it's a smaller time frame, right? You would enter here, you know, stopped out there, you would enter here. You're getting a better entry by going on the lower time frame and zooming in on a tighter area of price. So for scalping, would you still, I mean, yeah, in that if you're near a weekly level, you're going to have a really strong reaction, right? That's the idea. So you can still use that level to frame your higher, your lower term setups. Always chart top down. Like I said, if we do retrace that low, I don't necessarily think that's a good thing to continue up. I think after this stop run, we could see a retrace, so a little bounce up. You could get in a long potentially. I'm out of my trade. I was in it for a while. Yeah, I don't use RSI at all, so I don't really know. Exponential moving average, not a ton of experience with it. But Forex, there's more history. It's, still manipulated the same way, a lot more ranging, but all the concepts work the same. What up, Rick? Chart Eth, okay. What up, Trader Z? SZ? Chillin'. How long did it take me? I've been trading for 5 years. I would say I only got good, and I wouldn't even say I'm fucking amazing. Like, I only got consistent and kind of had an idea what I was doing in terms of I'm more confident when I make calls. I'm, confident, and I have good risk management, and I consistently make money more than I lose. I would say over the last 2 years. So I spent the first 3 years wasting a lot of time, learning a bunch of bullshit, losing a lot of money. ICT is one of my main focuses in terms of the trading I use, but the type of style is price action. A guy like Trader SZ, he uses price action. There's, you're not just gonna clone anyone. I joke around saying, ICT, everything. Obviously, I like ICT's material. I use it, but it's price action trading. He's not the only one who invented it. It's just rebranding of concepts that already existed. His terms are just the ones I use because I think I've spent the most time watching his stuff. Put it that way, and it works for me. Simple as that. DXY. I posted a chart on this forever ago on TradingView. Knowing that we were gonna eventually get to that double top at 95, and we finally fulfilled it. I posted a trade, and if you're in the Discord, you can go back and find it. I also posted it on fucking Twitter way back here. I posted it back in April when we were kind of consolidating down here. I thought we were going to come up for these highs up here. So my trade setup was down here. This being what? If you flip this chart over, what does this look like? The market maker model, right? It's a buy model. Consolidation, expand down, consolidating, expanding, the distributing, then clearing all of these stops on the way back up. And ultimately, this was my end target. And that fulfilled. Right? And that's, in line with Bitcoin as well, right? Bitcoin is traded against the US dollar. Yes. Basically. I don't think I have a stop on right now, to be honest with you. Very naughty. But it's been going pretty sideways, so I'm not too concerned. But I would cut this trade, if we get down. Maybe not if we break here, but for sure, if we break this low, it's a very small position I have open. Euro bullish or bearish on intraday? On the daily, right, we're very much consolidating here. We just had a run on these lows, right? So that would be bullish in a sense, right? We had a run on these lows. Very similar price action to Bitcoin if you think about it, right? A low. This could be potentially a higher low forming. So on the daily chart, make no mistake, this is months of down. Couple months of down, and we could continue lower, but this is a significant low that was broken. So we could expect on an intraday basis some sort of move to clear out maybe these highs or these highs, or we could, obviously continue back down. Very similar price action to Bitcoin, right? There's going to be liquidity under here and liquidity above here. What is most likely where the market is going to go based on where we are in the trading range, whatever it is. I like potential intraday bullishness, sure. I've used it a little bit. I don't really know um, how to use it perfectly. A guy named Howlin on Twitter, he seems to be really good with volume profile. I know Flood uses it. I'm sure there's benefits to it. I'm just not. I don't use volume really much at all, other than occasionally seeing if a move was high volume or low volume. But I know that there's volume gaps can oftentimes line up with areas where there may be liquidity, etc. Any shitcoin insider info? Buy LBC. Buy my fucking bags, bro. A hidden OTE. A hidden OTE is just one that it's forming, right? It's nothing special. It's just the OTE is gonna say, okay, well, based on the range, where would the I think that kind of shit's stupid. Don't focus on the OTE. People get so caught up in it that I think it fucks them up. You're welcome, bro. Well deserved. I've learned a lot from you. I feel like I was being douchey to Flood on occasion, and that's just me. I think I just was a little bit irked with his online persona, but the more I've interacted with him, I do know he's a nice guy, and from several people I interact with a lot who know him a lot better than me, say he's a nice guy, and I'm not gonna pass judgment on him. Definitely not anymore. I mean, he definitely, and if I did before, I obviously apologize, but Canadians are nice, bro. But the I think he made like 4 or 5 bitcoins from his 6,300 long, so obviously killing it. And when I was critical of him last time in my video, I don't think I was trying to be critical. What I was trying to point out is he trades with a large stack. So to be able to enter a position and average it down if it's going against you to just continually get a better entry is great. That's not how I trade. I trade trying to get in, on the most precise moment. So I'm always in very little drawdown. My entries are very close to my stops, etc. If you're not blocked by CAS, you're not living. Oh, Vinici is great. Sorry, you're right, Robert Hales. Vinici's a G. Yes, I think in the short term. Appreciate it, man. I think I've gotten better since my first video, but I still suck ass. Very much in accumulation on TV skills. I've traded full time before. I think if you read my welcome post in my Discord, I fucking in the first bull run or whatever it was, 2013, 2014, I made a bunch of Bitcoin in the bull run, thinking I was, a genius because just much like this last one, everything I bought went up, right? So I thought I knew what I was doing. I actually worked as a financial advisor at a bank, and I quit my job. I told my parents, I'm quitting my job. I'm a day trader now, and that lasted like a year because the market turned. I watched the majority of money that I made in the bull market vanish because I realized I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. I was just drawing lines on charts and didn't actually understand how the market moves or any of that shit. And I lost a bunch of money. So I capitulated, to be honest with you. I deleted, I canceled my TradingView membership. I sold off almost all of my Bitcoin and shit coins other than, random shit I found on wallets when I got back into it. I stopped posting on Twitter. Like, you can go back. I stopped posting, whatever it was of 2014 for 3 years. So I got crushed. But during that time away from Twitter, I found ICT. I found guys like Trader SZ. I found Tom Dante, and I did a bunch of studying. I grinded. I, spent years trading Forex. I got into Forex. I made a $500 account and I started fucking around. I lost money with that and I struggled for a few years. But as I started learning more, I started piecing the puzzle together and I started getting pretty decent at Forex. But at this point, I was working again. And about a year ago, I started a business with my friends. I'm my own boss. I have my own schedule. It's quite lucrative. It gives me a lot of free time and it's low stress. Definitely a lot less stressful than trading. And I make good money doing it. I got back into crypto like 6-7 months ago, like right before, I think maybe in November. Um, Started posting 6K. Once we were at like almost 20K, I was like, we're going to 6K. But anyways, that's besides the point. And I obviously knew a lot more. I started posting on Twitter. My account started growing around April. Um, I don't think I would start trading full time again. I enjoy what I do. It's nice knowing that whatever I do trading is just extra cake to do stuff, to buy stuff. It's way less stressful. I don't know. Maybe I will one day again. Who knows? But very happy with where my life is at right now, running my business and just kind of doing this on the side. I'm gonna just. I think I'm almost at the bottom. Okay, I'll do ZEC, and then I think I'll be done. Share some links on where to start learning PA. Rookie, if you DM me on Twitter, direct message me on Twitter, or direct message me on Discord, here's my tag. I will let you into my Discord, and I have an education section where we have ebooks, videos from all sorts of people where you can learn about PA from beginners to more experienced. Always lit, bro. There you go. So that lines up, right? What's the quickest way to determine your higher time frame bias? So I told you, you could use the moving averages, but you just want to see where's market structure on the higher time frame, right? If we're on the daily chart and we have a high, a low, a high, and then a lower low, right? We could be interterm bullish here, but if we create a lower high, this daily market structure is bearish, right? We have high, a lower high, a lower low, right? This is bearish. I don't know how to describe it other than that, right? Lower highs and lower lows, bearish. Higher highs and higher lows, bullish. And if it's sideways, it's sideways. And the bias goes to an extent, right? Like you're going to want to use the daily and the weekly for trades you take on the 4 hour and the 1 hour. If you're taking a trade on the 15-minute, the 4 hour and 1 hour bias could be bullish, but the weekly, monthly, and daily could be bearish. So your counter trend on the highest time frames, but on the lower time frames, if the ones directly above the time frame you're executing your trade on are bullish, you can take a long on the 15-minute. That would make sense. Flood has made a lot more money than me in 2018, and I'm sure than most of you. West, on the other hand, I agree with. I mean, Flood got caught up in the 10K hype. I mean, a lot of people did. He got, that's part of trading. This guy is smart as fuck. You got to realize that some of those threads and posts he writes, this guy knows what he's doing. So even if he's wrong, he's either getting out without losing a lot of money, or he's making it so gets on the right move, whether it's, averaging down, hedging. Like, this guy knows what the fuck's up. He's a real trader. West, I don't know yet. I think he might be a LARPer. Flood, definitely a real trader. Wrong or right? You don't have to be right that often. We've talked about this so many times. If you're getting 2-to-1s, 3-to-1s, 4-to-1s, it's okay to be wrong. Yeah, and fucking West was calling 7.5K or whatever it was, which is great, but he was definitely getting crushed all the way down. And this is his first right one in a while. I don't know. He seems, I don't believe him quite yet. Flood, I'm definitely sold. That guy's fucking legit. Yes, definitely. If you're not a trader, buy Bitcoin now and come back in 3 years. 2 years even. Who knows? I'm telling you, I definitely think Bitcoin will hit all-time high again for sure, and I think these prices are going to be a gift years down the line. If you can acquire 1 to 2 Bitcoin now, that could be worth a serious amount of money in a few years. Flood, I agree. I think he's one of the best risk management guys. Same with Aurelius. Those guys are super smart. They understand leverage, margin, risk way better than I do. Way better than I do. I'm very much a chart art guy. I do know how to trade, but those guys are fucking legit. No doubt in my mind. They know what they're doing hedging wise, averaging down, using proper leverage, using stops so they don't get fucking ripped. West, on the other hand, I don't know. I can't tell with him. I feel like he deletes some posts and shit like that. We'll see. Exactly. 21 billion Bitcoin, 8 billion people. You want at least one. And I agree. I think Flood acts kind of like a douche on Twitter. And I think that's what irked me originally. But then I stepped back and realized, who gives a fuck? Like, if I have fuck you money and you're all a bunch of strangers, who gives a fuck? Like, being a douche can be fun, especially when it's anonymous online. I know in private, as I've had more interactions with him, and a lot of people I know interact with him all the time. He's a very helpful guy, a very nice guy who shares a ton of fucking free content for free. As much as there's a lot of shit going on in the cartel general, there's a lot of great info in there and a lot of great traders. And this guy posts a ton of free information for you that you guys should be eating up. If you're looking for people to follow who aren't shit, he's definitely one of them. I love Latina girls. Why do you think I went to Colombia and partied till my foot almost fell off? Just to meet my Latina wife. All right, guys, it's an hour and a half here. I'm going to sign out. I will upload this to YouTube to anyone who didn't get to watch it. And we'll fucking chat you boys later. Trader Mayne signing off.